channel, welcome. Right, today I am polishing a watch bracelet, and I know my usual subscribers and viewers are not into watches, but to defend myself a little bit for the content of this video, if you're new to making jewellery and people find out you're a jeweller, a practicing jeweller or employed or whatever, they will just assume you work on watches. You will take their watch jobs off them. Like that's taking links out, adjusting straps, fixing these little spring bars that break, changing batteries and that. You're going to get given a watch sooner or later, so this video might come in helpful in the future. But basically today all I'm doing, concentrating on the strap. I want to polish it up. I want to get this job done because I'm still undecided whether I'm going to keep this or try and sell it. So I want to get it all fixed up and looking fresh. I think I might keep it. I like it more and more the more I kind of have it near me. Anyway, so I'm going to polish up this strap. Anyway, let's get into it. I got a new patron the other day, Zvoni Hodak. Thank you very much, Zvoni. All the patrons make this channel continuing possible, so I'm very grateful to all the patrons. If you want to help me out, throw me a bone, you can even become a Diamond Matter member. That's now the cheapest way to do it. There's a join button on the channel page, or you can become a patron, which is just like monthly subscription. You can come and go as much as you want. You can do custom pledges, and there's benefits for you as well. So click the link in the description. You can check out the Diamond Matter patron page, and yeah, I hope you do. If not, just watch and enjoy. Right, basically the first step is to get it all polished, even if there's sections of it that are matte, because doing that matte sort of satin finish on metal, it's just such a light, gentle surface treatment. It's like a real final kind of touch to get something finished. So if there's scratches all over it and all different lines, all different directions, that matte finishing is not going to hide it at all. So you've got to get all the scratches out. So that means giving it a proper hard polish. These are usually steel or mixed with 18 karat gold. Makes it a bit tricky to polish because the gold is way softer than steel, so you've got to have some clever techniques when you're polishing it. But anyway, whatever you're working on, I highly recommend getting the whole thing freshly polished. And the step before that is get quite a fine whizzer, like a smooth one or a medium one that's had a lot of wear. And just go over it. If you see any deep scratches, try and buff them out at this stage. So yeah, I guess the first step is checking for scratches and buffing them out with a whizzer. Go gently, even if you're confident what you're holding is a piece of steel. They tend to not use really hard tempered special grades of steel for watch bracelets. You can actually buff them quite effectively without much effort with your jewellery making tools. So anyway, start off gently and see how the metal reacts. Doing a watch like years ago, probably 10 years ago, more than that even, the guy bought in a Hublot watch, and it was like rose gold. It was 18 carats, either rose or yellow. And he just wanted the case freshening up, or it may have had a service, maybe it was just given to me to give it a polish to brighten it up. And I worked with gold for years. I sort of know what the tools do for certain metals, so I know how hard to push and how rough to treat things to get work done. This was just having a light polish. So those black bristle brushes, put the triple E grease on that and just went like that, and it instantly put little lines in it. Like if I'd really gone into it, it would have damaged the case. And I thought, this is weird. Like this was like meant to be like a 15-20 gram watch. That was not normal gold. I don't know what games they're playing. Maybe an 18 karat, but I don't know what the alloy was. It was a weird gold. It should not have worn away like that. You'd think a watch case should be extra hard alloy because of on your wrist getting banged about and stuff. So yeah, bit worrying. So be careful, even on an expensive brand. Don't just assume it's this and that. Just your first few steps with your tools, I would go very gently and carefully and really trying to learn what the metal's like before you really dig into it hard with your tools. But anyway, usually watch cases are just light scratches. Bracelets are more likely to need a bit more rough work, but still, I think it's good advice to tread carefully first of all. Working my way along the links, just wanted to say, if it's got a wetsuit like adapter bit, a little extra length, open that obviously, get access to as much of it as possible. And I realised it's got the Seiko logo on, so be careful with that. Don't go over it too hard, because even if you make it a little bit smooth and flat one side, it's going to look horrible. People really pay a lot for their brands on their watches, so it's probably better. You're better off not polishing it as good as the rest of it to save the logo. If there's two errors, it's a worse error to remove the engraving than to not polish it as good. And if they say anything, if the customer says anything, just say you can't polish it as hard because there's a danger to losing the engraving. they'll probably say thank you to you for that, for being careful with it. I had quite a coarse matte finish on it before, I think, but the clasp always needs a load of work. So I'm buffing that quite hard, and I can still see lines going across that way. So that really shows you how just doing that final little matte thing over the top isn't really good enough. I don't know if that's showing up on camera, but really liney, so I've got to do quite a bit of work on this to get this flat. Alright, so I've got it prepared for polishing now, and that was actually more work than I was expecting, especially this piece. I ended up making a new buff stick with 220 grade grit on there, so quite a coarse one. There's just scratches, couldn't get them out. So anyway, hit it with a buff stick, then went to a smoother buff stick, and then went back to my smooth whizzer. Yeah, so ready to go. It's not perfect, but you know, when you're doing these kind of jobs, there is an element of, it is a second-hand item, so there's no point in fighting really hard to get it absolutely immaculate again, because you likely won't be able to, no matter how hard you try. So do a very good job, but at the end of the day, it's going to show signs of wear. You can't polish out wear and tear. You can simply get rid of minor scratches. That's sort of all we're doing, but it will look a lot better when we're finished. No, we're not polishing yet. I forgot about the main watch. Doing the watch cases, I don't like doing too much work on them because you don't want to risk rounding off sections like that are sort of faceted. A lot of watches, especially the nicer brands like Rolex and stuff, they're really perfectly faceted, and you don't want to start changing and rounding off corners and stuff. So it's going to show. If you round off something that's meant to be sharp, it'll just make the whole thing look worn out and horrible. So be careful with these. Also, when you're doing a lot of work, I would highly recommend make sure everything's tight and done up properly because of the dust. And also, another reason I don't like doing them, they take a lot of polishing, and then you get polish built up all over it, which means you've got ultrasonic it, and I'm nervous putting these in ultrasonic. I've worked with people before and no hesitation to just hang it on a hook through the little hole and just dunk it in the ultrasonic like a 12 grand Rolex or something. I can't do that. What I do is, well, I'll show you later, I get a wet toothbrush and do shift most of the polish with a wet toothbrush and sort of carefully hold it and work with it bit by bit. But anyway, I'll show you that when I get to that stage. But yeah, I try to do as little as possible on the watch cases. So just to explain something, this is my mop for my Tripoli grease. In a previous video, I have discovered this Japanese P-More stuff, really good. Cut really fast through the metal, but left a really nice shine. So I want to try this out. I actually ordered online a week ago some new polishing mops, just so I can get using this polish with decent mops, because I'm recommending you use a kind of hardish stitch mop. You need something that's you can really push the steel against. I am a bit worried about this polisher motor. It spins very fast, but there's no torque. You can stop it really easily. Slow it down just doing that. So anyway, I've got an old file blade. Just getting rid of Tripoli. I've been doing that for the last 10 minutes or so. So this is not ideal, mixing polishes on mops. So just to explain why I'm doing it. I wouldn't normally do this. So start off one of these. So yeah, polishes, it's not too difficult to polish. When it comes to strap, I don't do this. I might finish off a very smooth mop as a final thing, doing it kind of more generally. But starting off, I work on every single section individually. So I'm doing this, working across, and I get one as good as I want to get it, and then move on to the next one. And then once you've done the whole thing, then you can get a softer mop and go over more of a sort of large general area in one go. But what I'm doing now is just going to concentrate on one section and then do the sides as well. Don't forget the size links, because they can really come up really good and make the whole thing look better than it otherwise would. I got a nasty scratch there. I decided to leave it, it's so deep. I just never get rid of that. So I can polish over it and improve it a little bit, but that's staying, that scratch. It's so deep. Okay, watch case. Unless you're doing a real top class job, You don't need to take the movement out. Just maybe have a close look. Like this is an aluminium bezel that's likely just painted. If I polish that hard, I could probably damage that, so I'm going to avoid the bezel. I'm using a black bristle brush, which I also ordered and still waiting for. It would have been nice to have a new one now. But this is quite good. It's quite accurate, so I'm just going to gently go over it, get everything I need to get, and then I'm just being more careful with this. I'm doing less work on this piece. Again, right, anything with engraving, these are quite often hand engraved. Same as again, as I was talking about, 2 errors. It's a better error to choose to not polish it enough and leave all the writing as it was. Otherwise you're going the other way, you're removing the writing, and that can be very important to the value of the watch or just sentimental stuff on there. Either way, don't do too much on the back, is what I'm saying. Just brighten it up. Look, I've brightened up with a very light little polish, so yeah, you ain't got to work hard on that. Okay, I think I've got everything done at this stage. I'm going to get a softer mop on there and brighten everything up. So I've got the softer mop on now. These bits are coming up really good. See that? When it comes to the strap, I do same again, the same technique. I sort of give each bit more attention individually, and then I'll just generally go over it. Probably likely get a piece of leather is a good idea, and then you can just sort of go up and down it. But I want to make sure I get everything, I don't miss any bits, so everything's equally as good all over. Ultrasonic everything before we start doing the satin finishes. I was mentioning I'm nervous of putting the watches with the movement in the ultrasonic, so what I do is I have a soft toothbrush and a rag or kitchen roll or something to soak up water. With a soft toothbrush you can just brush off the worst of the polish, and if you're worried it's getting too wet, soak up the water into the rag, and obviously takes it out of the crevices in the watch. But this is a diver's watch. This is one of the safest watches I could be putting in an ultrasonic. But even if it's totally waterproof, I can't imagine it's very good for the watch, all those delicate moving parts and oiled parts being shaken about like that in the ultrasonic. But at the same time, I know someone who didn't hesitate at all to put Rolexes and stuff in ultrasonics, and there was never a problem. Obviously just common sense to make sure everything's all tight and done up as it should be. But when you're working on something expensive that belongs to someone else, it's worth taking your time and being careful. Just looking at it while going through the job in my mind, this center section of my links is raised up, so I can probably get away without masking anything off at all, but usually they're just flat across, so you can't risk accidentally even hitting the edge even hitting the edge at all of the bit that's meant to be polished. Like say that center section is meant to be polished and you're doing the matte and you go over it. It's a problem when you're trying to finish the job, because if you do that accidentally, you've then got to go back to the polishing motor and polish it all clean again to this stage and then start again. So you've got to mask things off. Because this is raised, I don't think I have to. So I've got this gritty sponge block, a little bit kind of rubbery. Yeah, it's like grit infused, very soft rubber block. You can slice bits off, you can see I cut bits off mine quite often. And just practicing, no problem at all. I just get on the edge of that. And obviously you've got to be careful, the sides are polished and that's matte. You've got to work carefully and not accidentally hit little edges you're not meant to, because it will look a mess if the whole thing is covered in little mistakes. So I just did this section, a little bit stripy there, I'll sort that out in a bit. But yeah, looks a lot more fresh. And last thing I'll do is do the back. I'll matte that as well. Alright, these bits are flat, so I'm going to mask off just this section. The masking tape we got in England is sort of a waxy, papery, sort of sticky tape. Really good for this. the masking tape in Japan is just papery, really, really strong glue, and when you try and peel it off, it just sticks to it, like permanently sticks. Really terrible for masking tape. Shouldn't be called masking tape. So anyway, I'm just going to use sellotape. This is going to be better than Japanese masking tape. So you literally just carefully line it up with your edge you want. And I have doubled things up before, double tape up, because you don't want it to wear away too quickly against whatever tool you're using. So just to give you an example quickly, it's masked off, but it doesn't mean I can just carelessly buff over it. I'm still careful. So when I peel this off, there you go, nice edge, look. So yeah, when your bracelet is flat like that, you've got to do that on every single link, all down the sides. So it takes a lot longer. This was a really easy job compared to usual. So this is the stage I'm getting it to. I'm not putting it back together because I'm still working on the watch. I'm going to get a bezel insert and then fit that. But like I said, when I was polishing, I'm not trying to get it perfect because it is a second-hand item. You can brighten them up and improve them loads, but you never really get them back to new standard again. So especially on the back, I've left that quite scratchy really. I just only really hit that with the soft mop, so it brightened up, but I left it quite scratchy because I'd rather do that than risk losing any fine engraving. Especially on 18 karat gold watches, people have like hand engraving and stuff that's going to be sentimental, and also all the codes and stuff written on the case are like really important for the value of the watch and proving what it is and stuff. But yeah, basically this is it. So it's all totally freshened up, looks much better, but not perfect condition. Like, see that scratch I showed you when I was polishing, that's staying there. But yeah, I'm happy with it. So there you go.